Hello, everyone. Chris Frederick, Stretched Twin Institute, with a very cool person I've known for many, many years. And she's one of your colleagues in the FSD family, Kim Trotta. Welcome, Kim.
Oh, I'll be trimmed too.
How you doing?
Excellent, excellent.
So you're a level 3 medical and fitness, right? According to my
Yes,
right. You're one of the special ones that took both. And you're structural integrator from Tom Myers. It's called now Anatomy Trains, not can you
yeah,
fascial integration,
I know.
right? And that's
ATSI?
ATSI, yeah.
Yeah,
But you let me know about you had an injury, and everybody, a lot of people on Facebook are really interested in their following. So let me read this. You had what's called a FOOSH. So I basically put in a Facebook, in our private Facebook, said, FOOSH, did anyone ever hear of this injury? And I have some people, one guy, Corey, Shooter or Shutter. Sorry, Corey, don't know how to pronounce your last name. He says, that's not the F word I use when I fall on an outstretched arm. Luis Hernandez, top definition, he copies something, FOOSH, a replacement for the word F star star K. For example, what the FOOSH?
yeah.
I didn't know that. And a couple of people are following this. Some have said, this is not fun, happened to me. Tracy Beck, ice season is coming. Looking forward to your insight. And Phoenix Wickens just had a FOOSH. She says, never heard of it, but have experienced one while ice skating. And she had a badly broken wrist with multiple points of shearing and now lives with a metal plate, pins, and a 6 to 7 inch scar on her left wrist and still has limitations.
Yeah, I bet.
So, Kim, what did they tell you? What does FOOSH mean?
All onto outstretched hand,
Okay, there you go.
right? Anyway, so mine wasn't typical. I was running. I was in midair. I caught a step going up onto a landing, and then I fist punched the ground as opposed to falling on my hand.
Ah,
So I did a spiral compression fracture of MC3 and 4.
wow.
So the knuckles, I mean, the doctor said, the plastic surgeon, he says, normally, he says, in the past, we've done surgery on this. He said, but we found that scar tissue was just too much to deal with for recovery, and we found better results with leaving it. So now my knuckles are shorter.
So they left it, no surgery.
No, they left it,
They
no
have
surgery.
bet they said through the years of experience of treating this, they say no surgical option is better.
Correct.
Wow, and these are surgeons who said that.
This is, yeah, plastic surgeon. I don't know if they do the same in the States, but here, if it's a hand injury, it goes to a plastic surgeon, not
Interesting.
not an orthoped.
How long ago did this happen?
5 weeks ago.
And how where are you at with recovery in terms of function?
He said way, way ahead of the game.
Like where are you? 85%, 70, 100?
Well, I would say I'm at
In terms of grip and push pull, trusting it.
trusting it. I would say I'm at 70%.
Okay.
Uh, Pain or so I would call it discomfort. I don't like to use pain. Um, I would say is only in very certain positions.
And of course, is it totally healed?
He said that it's healed to the point he says don't pick up a suitcase or anything.
Oh, okay.
Um,
They have a bony
but
callus, but it's really not integrated enough to do weight bearing like handstands or fist stands.
yeah, you wouldn't want to do a fist stand. He says,
No boxing.
yeah, no, definitely no boxing. Nothing that recreated it. So the knuckles, I would say, in the middle two fingers are fat. They're inflamed. So that would be the only thing that limits it. But I've done all my finger touching, rolling, and I'm pulling in some soft tissue work. I've done near and far infrared Juve light therapy, and I've used neurostimulator on it as well. I didn't wear a cast from the 2.5 week mark on.
Oh,
Only
okay, so you wore an immobilizing cast for about 2.5 weeks.
yeah, and then I did some therapy tape. I just did some kinesio tape just for some sensory support.
Why wouldn't they mobilize? Sorry, why wouldn't they immobilize for like the standard used to be 4 to 6 weeks? Why wouldn't they do that?
Well, they did, but I didn't. because the way they put the cast on, Chris, is it was pinching and causing nerve pain. So I
Oh,
knew innately that I was getting some nerve damage
yeah. They need to
traveling.
refit it. When that happens, they're supposed to take it off and refit it.
Yeah. But I said, this is not casted right. I went back 3 times in 2 weeks.
Oh my God. It's insane. I should talk to Joanne, is a certified hand therapist for like 20 years in our network, and I forgot her
Mhm.
last name. Hello, Joanne, if you're listening. We should talk to her because she sees these kinds of things all the time, and because that doesn't sound right. They really should have fit it. I mean, I'm not bad. I don't mean to say anything negative about your doctors. It's just that you should get a proper fitting cast that doesn't cause nerve damage and it stays for the, certain amount of time.
Yep.
That's
No,
odd.
no, I agree. It was extremely. It was pinched. The plaster was pinched in all the wrong. I was getting blisters.
So listen to that, folks. This is when you need to refer back to the physician, whoever put the cast on. They need to go back and get refitted if you ever have a client that has these complaints
Yeah.
or patient.
The first cast they put on me was so tight that basically everything was being pushed out my thumb.
What, did you
And
have color? Did you have color change? Did you notice
oh
red
yeah,
turning to almost blue?
it was totally blue, and
Yeah.
I said I just started to cut it away because
Oh
this is not
God. Yeah,
yeah,
you were being asphyxiated.
yeah,
It's like a compartment syndrome.
exactly. Yeah, I was sitting with 2 nurses in the fracture clinic, and she says it's a good thing you cut it open.
So that's
She,
another thing.
you could
Whoever's
have had nerve damage.
Yeah.
Listen to what your body's telling you.
So that's another thing. Whoever's listening, FST family and others, if you must inspect and look at your client's hand. If it's a FOOSH injury and they're immobilized in a cast, you have to inspect it. The color should not be much different than their elbow or shoulder area. It should be the same color. If it starts to get red or dark, that's a warning sign. Send them right back to the physician.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Keep the arm up, not in a
No,
dependent position either.
no, definitely not.
That will
But
throb.
when no relief comes from that, oh yeah, check sensory. What are the, if you can reach the fingertips, what do the fingertips feel like? Is it like super hot, hotter than everything else, and the color change?
Perfect. Now that you don't have a cast, in terms of grip and all that, so your doctor said you're ahead of schedule,
Yes.
like by a week or like you're,
Oh, he says I'm at least 3 weeks ahead of the game.
wow, that's amazing. So what do you attribute that to? Just keep moving?
Moving, yes. Moving within the limits. Hot, cold.
Oh, you're doing contrast?
Oh, I'm doing definitely contrast, the flushing, some essential oils.
Can you please just in a nutshell describe the contrast, like the parameters that you use, the temperature, like you fully immerse, is it immersed up to the elbow, just the hand and wrist?
Elbow,
Up to the elbow.
elbow.
And
Yeah.
for how long do you do hot and cold?
Well, I've got 2 sinks going. I've got one sink that's filled with ice, and then I have one with the warm water. And I'm sensitive to the fact that I don't want to burn my arm because I know that once it's super cold and I go back into warm, that I won't feel it as much. Probably, I would say 20 to 30 seconds cold, and then back into the warm again, and with some light sort of effleurage flushing for
Good.
movement, and then back into the cold. And I do that probably for 3 minutes.
Like back and forth for 3 minutes, and you end with what? Cold?
I end with cold, yes.
Right. Okay.
And movement, for some reason, movement is easier in the water. And I don't know why. Sort of, it's a mapping somewhere in the sensory in the brain. If it's in the
Well,
water,
yeah.
I get better movement. Or even with my eyes closed, because I
Mm,
don't have that perception of where it is
yeah.
to.
Yeah, I'm not so sure in a sink. I know they've measured pressure changes, of course, like in a pool. At the bottom of a pool, if you're standing at the bottom of a pool and your head is still out of water, there's a definite pressure change where you get a flushing of the lymph system,
Yes.
and that can help while you move. That's why people with edema in the legs should do movement in a pool,
Hmm.
or of course with compression socks on. Those two things can help.
Yes.
Well, that's awesome. I'm so glad that you're ahead of schedule.
Yeah, me
Just
too.
just don't fall on the hand again. Don't catch yourself with that hand if you trip.
Yeah, I know.
You have to practice turning and use the other side.
It was immediately. It appeared like a great opportunity to develop my left hand. my left-sided skills for sure.
Well, yeah, what are you doing? And of course, working on your left side can also benefit the right side because of the way we're wired, right? So
Yes.
what are you doing, exercise or movement wise, specific to this that you feel you should be, that may be aiding your recovery and making it a little quicker?
Making sure that I'm aware of what my shoulder movements are, keeping shoulder and elbow movement. So anyone wearing a cast is going to get some sort of, long head of the bicep, that nerve running down from that holding up position, to be
Uh,
very aware of what they're doing with that, because they could end up with that nerve root irritation.
so you're holding it up.
If you're not in a sling and it's pulling around
Uh,
your neck, which is a one other problem, but if you're walking around with it unsupported, you've got this 2 to 3 pound cast that now your hand is in a, neutral, slightly, supinated position, and you're coming across the long head of the bicep, and you get this tension from holding this 3 pound weight. But then when it comes down, all of a sudden that nerve starts to burn. So I was getting firing pain, probably
oh,
started within a day, and I became very aware of when I was in a relaxed position to make sure that I got the arm straight out, and I kind of worked with different angles and gently, because I was able to use my thumb, almost kind of doing a nerve flossing,
okay,
but not forcing it to the point where it was burning, just kind of
right,
before that, to kind of
right.
dance in and out with it.
So what could a therapist, an FST therapist, do with someone with who had that injury with you that would aid recovery? Because a person's not going to know, their client's not going to know what you know. You're doing this to yourself. You kind of know
Yes.
what to do. Most people don't. So if they came in to see you, you had an exact client like you coming in
Yes.
to see you with, and you don't have an injury now. Let's say, let's pretend you're recovered 100%, and you're treating
Yep.
someone. What would you do in terms of utilizing FST to help in recovery? Would you passive, active, resistive? What would you do?
Uh,
Comes to mind.
First, passively, because I know that passively guiding my arm down into a straightened position was less likely to trigger the nerve.
I think side-lying stuff is really good just to start with the shoulder girdle because
Absolutely.
they're
So
holding their shoulder up, right? They're guarding and protecting.
100%. So I was focusing myself, making sure that I was, getting those pistons and moving back and forth and keeping that shoulder mobility, and being cognizant of my neck and any adjustments I would make with my arm that I wasn't. So keeping that mobility and looking further up the chain than
Hmm.
just to where the injury is, to see what you could keep flushed and what you could keep in its best operating position, so that they came out with the least amount of, you know um, accommodations for the injury.
I think
You
side-lying level two that we learned in side-lying level two stuff is pretty good because the arm is always elevated. It's always on top. There's so much you can do, constantly tractioning it. You can milk it down if you're a therapist. You can milk down the edema.
Absolutely.
And every single movement is elevated, which is kind of
Yep.
nice. It just aids the flow of all that. And it's neuromyofascial, so the nerve is getting mobilized and flossed with a lot of those movements automatically.
Yep.
You know,
Looking at the chest.
opening up the deep front arm net. You know, just all the way into the pecs because again of the guarding
Absolutely.
and protecting.
Even up underneath the arm, just make sure you get that flushing, just to keep the
That's
lymphatics moving out of that arm.
right. And then some neck work, of course, because that's tied in with the scalenes and tension. And who knows? You know, the other thing is with these injuries. Did you go to the emergency room or no?
I did.
Yeah. Usually, what they do is they focus on what's obvious. They see something fractured. You know, they take X-rays and they see this fracture, and a lot of times, bad sprains get undiagnosed.
Hmm.
So, for instance, they could get a Colles fracture, which is common in the wrist, right, with the outstretched hand. But
Yes.
they don't see that, let's say, the elbow is hyperextended and there's actually a ligamentous injury, for instance,
I know.
or especially in the shoulder, and many times it'll go right into the clavicle.
Yep.
So someone may actually have a clavicle that's pushed up,
Hmm.
even a first rib that's pushed up, and it gets undiagnosed. Like you'll be, FST practitioner will be the first person to find it.
Absolutely. Like, always look further up the chain because a fall like that never falls in, never
Mhm.
happens in isolation.
It's a kinetic chain. You got to check every joint, and you got to check all the fascial lines or fascial nets across. And yeah, go all the way to the sternum, like all the way to the center. You got to
Yeah,
check everything.
it's a global injury, definitely.
Yeah. Wow.
It's just,
Well, any other words of wisdom? I think that was really cool to share an actual experience because not we don't always get to hear that. And I don't mean to take advantage of your injury. I just think it's a cool thing that you can share with other people.
yeah, no, I thought it was amazing because I put so much of my FST principle into my own recovery and feeling in my body what had made compensations, or what had happened during the injury, and just kind of feeling for the fallout 24 or 48 hours later. And then also being able to use my FST tools to still continue with 80% of my practice,
That's
because
amazing.
we work with hooks and levers, and
Yeah.
being able to use your body. I mean, my hand was injured, but I was able to use my elbows and stuff and leverage people. Hey, come off the end of the table for me, and then I can hook, and then I can grab you to get your lateral line in. Of course, I couldn't do a double leg pull because I didn't have the two
Yeah.
hands,
Yeah.
but I was definitely able to do single leg pull, using that forearm and bringing it through. And they said, yeah, 80%, except for, the neck work, which I obviously couldn't do with two
Right.
hands. But
Right.
it was phenomenal
So we,
to
we,
be able.
we can all be thankful to level one when we kept drilling it into your head. Get your body behind your hands. Use your body, not your hands.
Exactly. And if you know what your end goal is, be creative.
Yeah.
Be creative. Look at what you have with your body and the tools that are available, because it's not limited to just two hands, right?
Perfect.
That's not what our work is, which is the beauty of it.
Well, thanks so much for spending time with us, with me, and for sharing your story. It's quite inspiring, and I think we've all learned a little bit more about what a FOOSH is, fall on an outstretched hand.
Yeah, in many
Is
ways.
over, but I wish you well for your recovery. Make it
Thank you.
100, make it 100%, and show me the next time you do a handstand.
I will, for sure.
All right, Kim, I'm going to talk to you a little bit later. So till we meet again, ta-ta, ta-ta, everyone. Take care.
TTFN. Bye.
TTFN, take care. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.